What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Jenny and I'm that props girl. It is 2023 and I'm so excited to bring my new content to you guys. I mentioned this a lot in the latter videos I released in 2022 and saying that I wanted to switch up my content a little bit, and I'm still going to be all about theatre and all that sort of stuff, but I'm branching out a little bit from just looking at props. Props is a department that works alongside many others in theatre, and I feel like we're missing out on a whole heap of conversations, and I want you guys to have a full picture of what theatre is like, and hopefully you will learn some things along the way. Today we are looking at trends in theatre predicted for 2023, and I have done a little bit of research in this and some of them are really interesting, and so if you are keen to check this out, then stick around. We have a goal this year, a baby goal of hitting 3,000 subscribers, but a bigger goal of hitting 5,000 subscribers, so consider subscribing to this channel if you are keen to see more content about theatre, and also give this video a thumbs up if you like it. And with all that said and done, let's jump straight into this video. So as I said, I've done a little bit of research and I'll put links to the articles in the description. Now, one of the things that we definitely saw a lot of in 2022, and I think this is definitely one of the pros that has happened post-pandemic in the theatre world, is we are seeing a lot more inclusivity in casting, and also with production crew and just in general people in the arts, and we're seeing that reflected on our screens as well, which is really good to see. But basically inclusivity in the theatre, and I know it's the same in a lot of workplaces, but especially in the theatre, is such a huge thing. It's not just about the LGBTQI plus community, it's also about just race in general and all those sorts of things. And I think for so many years the theatre has just been a whitewash. I say that as a white person. It's been very limited in the cultures represented on our stages, and we are starting to see that begin to shift, and this is a really positive change. I think it's been a long time coming, but it's sometimes difficult for people to comprehend and understand. And what I mean by that is, when you've seen something one way for so long, that's the way that your brain is programmed to see something. And so what we have to do as a group of people is actually, adjust the way we view theatre and recognize where we perhaps weren't viewing and doing things correctly in the past, and it's all just a learning experience and that sort of thing. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have white people on stages. I'm saying that we should have everybody represented on our stages, and I think that's been an amazing and positive change, and something we desperately need. A really good positive change there, and it's predicted that we'll see more of that in 2023, and I 100% agree with that. This next one is a prediction that people will return to theatre, and yes, I do hope that that is the case. It's true, we're not at pre-pandemic levels. This article here says is that it's no secret Broadway has not rebounded to pre-pandemic levels. The Thanksgiving box office gross income was 37 million in 2022, compared to 41 million pre-pandemic. And I know that like 37 million and 41 million, they seem like they're close together, but that's still a lot of money that didn't come into the arts industry. It is true that people have not returned to theatres. I think that there's still a fear in being around people. Like, pandemic, it's still a thing, but also I think people don't necessarily have the disposable income that they used to have, and they have to be really choosy as to where they spend it. And we're seeing that locally in Newcastle as well, and there are so many productions and you just can't go and see all of them because you can't necessarily afford to. And I mean, it's such a juggle between what do you charge for a ticket to make back the money that you've lost on a show versus what people can actually generically afford without going bankrupt to go and see a show. And obviously, I'm a person who sees a lot of theatre, but I have to put aside budget and income to allow me to go and see shows. As I said, people just don't have the disposable income anymore, and it is very tragic, and I don't know what the solution is there. I don't know whether we look at charging less for tickets, but I also think that people don't have the attention span that they had before the pandemic. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not great with watching movies because I can't I can't sit there for that long and do nothing. I think it's different with theatre because it's live. And I'm not just looking at a screen for 2.5 hours. And, theatre often has an interval, so there's a bit of a break. When they released the Vault archival copy of Hamilton, I think that really opened a lot of people's eyes to theatre. And everybody, loved Hamilton. But I think with doing that, a lot of people just expected, oh, well, this is how theatre is going to be, and I don't have to go anywhere to see theatre. I can just see theatre at home. And the whole thing about theatre is that it's live, and it is a whole different experience being in that room, and the atmosphere of that room is actually what creates the magic as well. And the audience and the actors and the crew, like, they all feed off each other, and no show is the same. Like, everything is different in every show. Like, it's the same show, but like little things can change, little things can go wrong, and like the audience might not know. But I mean, I speak from experience of saying, like, sometimes I might be doing a show and on stage it looks exactly the same as it did yesterday, but you don't know that backstage something dramatic happened. And that's the magical, beautiful thing about live theatre, is that it's in the moment and you have to be there to experience it. It's a tragedy, and I think that the arts community are going to have to work a lot harder to get people back to them. But like, the good thing is that social media, I think, helps that, and especially like TikTok and everything. And I know through the pandemic that a lot of the theatre community like jumped on TikTok and created their own sort of audience on there. So some people will go to see shows just to see those people, which is amazing. Like, a great example of that in Australia at the moment is like Sylvie Palladino. I absolutely love her. She's performing in Cinderella. I'm going to see Cinderella soon. It's not just because of Sylvie, but she's definitely a draw card. But I think at the same time, kind of like what we were talking about diversity, is like we're using more people who are not named performers. But there is a balance between, like, do you use a named performer to sell more tickets? Or do you go with an unknown who may potentially be better? Like, you don't know. These are all just things that, we're all dealing with. But another thing that's also come out of the pandemic, and I think this is one of the best positives, is actually the recognition and the need for swings in shows. Also, even like in the technical world and backstage, because like, you don't know, as I said, like, just in general, regardless of the pandemic, like, people can get sick at any given time. It's not fair to expect them to always be available and always be like, go, you must do 8 shows a week, blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody needs a break. And I think swings have become such a huge part. Like, they were already a huge part, but they've gotten more recognition, and swings do an incredible job on shows. And I would love to do an entire video just devoted to the importance of swings. I think it was really awesome. I'm going to talk about Six the Musical in Australia for a moment, but once again, the whole like TikTok revolution, like the swings in Six in Australia and all over the world, and in a lot of different production companies, not just Six, but I'm using Six as an example, they created their own following, and I followed them. I got really excited when I saw swings in Six, because it was really exciting to see that they got to do their show. And when I saw Jagged Little Pill last year for the first time, I saw a swing, had no idea she was a swing. And the same thing goes when I saw Moulin Rouge. I think I had 3 swings. They were all incredible. You would never know. And it's so unfair when people say, oh, I got to see a swing. That's actually a person. It's really exciting that you got to see a swing. They're a performer too, and they do just as good a job. There's been a really big push, I think, for incorporating different technologies into theatre, and I think that will definitely continue. I think like the use of LED screens is going to continue. Like, it's a clever way of doing backdrops and all those sorts of things. I think projection as well, like all these sorts of ways of creating atmospheres that are technically cheaper. Like, yes, okay, you pay for the infrastructure of the LED screen, but you get so much out of that versus having several different set pieces and backdrops and all that sort of stuff. So I think certain shows will continue to use classic way of staging, and other shows, I think, in the developing world will move away from traditional staging and scenic elements, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they balance it out. Jumping back to what we said about live streaming and that sort of thing, like that's another form of technology that we have incorporated into theatres. And there is the argument of like, you can increase your audience reach and all that sort of thing by live streaming. And I do think that, like, I also love seeing, you know, shows that maybe aren't in Australia at the moment and watching them online. I mean, there's always bootleg copies out there, but you know, to see like the proper filmed, archival, vaulted copies of things like Kinky Boots and Hamilton and Come From Away is so exciting. And I love watching them, don't get me wrong, it's so fun. It makes me more excited if I do see it coming to Australia to go, I want to see that live. So I don't know, I feel like there's pros and cons, and those of us who are theatre lovers will always go and see theatre. I think the best way that we can combat this stay-at-home coma that we're in is to actually educate our children and let them experience theatre and how exciting that can be. But I also think that there's a fine balance with that, because there are certain shows that maybe you shouldn't take a child to, and you have to really look at how long can the child stay still, quiet, whatever. But that's why they have children's theatre. And children's theatre is a whole other genre of theatre. Often they do only go for 20 minutes, but those shows are specifically targeted for children, and what that does. And often like it's a live show of something they've maybe seen on TV, but that's a way of drawing them in, and they get so excited because it's like it's in real life. I worked on the Newcastle production of the stage show of Bluey, and the kids were just so excited because they could physically see the dogs in 3D. They were there. It was so much fun. Like I would love to go on tour with a kids show. I think that would be the most amazing thing. Lifelong goal. I think that's pretty much it for 2023's predictions that I could find, and kind of what I think about what's going on in the industry. I think it will definitely be an interesting year, and I says hopefully we do see more people return to the theatre. I do think that it will bounce back, but I think we expect it to bounce back faster. And also one more thing that I will say is that the types of shows that can be staged are a little bit different to pre-pandemic. And so we've found heavier shows like dramas, darker shows which have a lot more heavy content are not selling as well as comedy shows, fairy tales, like anything that's lighter. And it is because we've had two very dark years in 2020, 2021, and potentially 2022 if your year was anything like mine. And people just want to be happy. If they're going to make the effort to go out, they want to be entertained. And I'm not saying that dramas are not entertaining, I'm not saying that at all. But it's definitely, the feeling that you leave the theatre with is totally different. Example of this is when I saw Jagged Little Pill, and unfortunately it had to close a month early in Sydney. It's a fantastic show, but it is heavy. I absolutely adore that show. It's one of my favourites. However, I did not leave the theatre with a sense of uplifting. Like, I felt empowered about some things and all sorts of stuff, but like, it's a show that makes you think, and there's nothing wrong with those shows. However, those sorts of shows are not attracting the audiences that they might have pre-pandemic. So shows, even regardless of their quality, if they're funny, people will go and see them. People want to be entertained, they want to laugh. And it's the same, it's always been the same way in like the film industry, is that indie films, regardless of however good they are, they don't sell as well at the box office as the Hallmark, like, you know, family movies or, you know, the rom-com movies, because people want to see the result. They want the happy ending. It's human nature. And after such dark years, I can attest to just more happiness. So I do think that those genres will have their time in the sun again. However, they may be playing in smaller theatre houses is all I will say on that matter. But yeah, so that's it, you guys, for 2023 and the predictions and what it's potentially going to look like. I will be interested to check in and see at the end of the year as to what we saw with all of these things. And let me know in the comments if you did like this video, because it's very different content, but I really enjoyed filming it for you guys. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Give this video a like if you did enjoy it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.